everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I am joined by Ashley Owens of AshleyAssist.com. Ashley is a networking expert and she calls herself a networking concierge. So we're going to talk about that, and she's going to give us some tips to be better at networking. Thank you so much for joining me, Ashley.
I'm so happy to be here. It's so much fun to see you guys again. I haven't seen you in forever, so I'm so glad to be back.
I know. Ashley used to live in the area, but she now lives in Texas, and we used to do things together a few years ago, so it's good to see her again. Tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So when I graduated college, I had 23 jobs after I graduated college. It was mergers, acquisitions, budget cuts, things that were out of my control. And so for a very long time, I thought that my value wasn't there. I had to prove to other people that I had value when really I had value all along. I started the business back in 2017 when I left my position working in custom software because I was selling custom software. But my previous positions, I was a celebrity personal assistant. So I woke up one day and said, how the hell did I get from working in entertainment to selling custom software? And I realized I was immensely, just very unhappy. And so I went to a networking event and I walked around and I said, okay, I'm a fixer. I know how to do this. What's the issue? What kind of challenges do people have? And so from there, I was able to say, okay, what sucks for everybody here about networking? Because that was the commonality at that time. And so I went around and asked that question. And unbeknownst to me, I had somebody who was watching me do my thing, kind of putting these service offerings together, and said, would you ever network for somebody at a book signing? And I said, sure, yes, I will. I had a business. I had an LLC. I had a master services agreement, liability insurance, business cards, website, headshots, everything I could possibly do to put together. And it was the first time in my adult career that I ever saw something that I wanted to get done on time and on budget without having to ask for anybody's permission. So the best part about that and that story is that I had 23 jobs, which means I was able to intelligently speak to 23 different industries, which then I tripled down on, and now I network on behalf of people. So my clients, they'll send me out to events, either as an extension of them, with them, or on behalf of them. I teach at Temple University now. I speak on stages. I get paid to speak now on stages about the tactical areas around networking, and it's all because one person saw my value. And that's my story.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, if somebody was looking to hire a networking concierge, what types of services do you offer?
Great question. So the services that we offer, so for the white glove service, that's the do it for me package. You hire me to go to an event. So I have a current client that I'm going to about 20 events for him this year, and his only goal is to have a presence as his company is there, and then to also book people on his podcast. So that is a fantastic way for him to be able to interview them and also use it as a qualifying meeting. And then I also attend with my clients and train their teams on how to work a booth if they have a booth there, but then also separate the availability between me and the client to go to the breakout sessions, to meet with the speakers, to connect with the right kinds of people there. So there's something called a networking audit I do beforehand. What are you doing right now? What's the goal for this event? And how do we kind of really find a strategy around it? I build up the follow-up process afterwards. And then I also provide them with the tools to be able to network effectively at that event using a digital business card and being able to see the ROI on the event. I train teams on how to do this. I have a current company that I'm working with. It's an HR company, and they have me training their teams on how to better network. So I capitalize on the fact that I have them do a DISC assessment, and I partner up networking activities with how they make decisions, which is using the emotional intelligence assessment. And then on the front end of that package, I have a course on Teachable. So if anybody wants to do that, they're welcome to do that. So I can either teach you individually, show you using the course, or do it for you by going to the event.
Very cool. And I'm going to put all of Ashley's links down below so you can check out her website and all the things that she has to offer. So, since you network all the time, that's your full-time job basically, what do you think are the three most common things people get wrong when they're networking?
Those three common things people get wrong is that they force the business card in your hands before building any kind of rapport, which we all know those people. They're usually at heaven. Let's be real. And the second thing is people don't go in with a plan to these events. So they're saying, hey, we came back with no ROI, but they have no follow-up plan. They have no actual way of capturing the information in a way that's intentional And so they end up leaving feeling like they didn't get anything out of it. The third thing that people do the worst is that they don't do what they say they're going to do. If they meet somebody at a conference or an event, or if they have a meeting on Zoom, what they say is, oh, I will be able to introduce you to these 4 people, these 5 people, and then you don't see an email from them ever. So it's the not doing what they say they're going to do, having throwing business cards in somebody's face without building any kind of rapport, and then not having a plan at these events. And those plans can be micro plans, meaning if you go and say, I just want to get 2 meetings on my calendar, that's a goal, and you've succeeded it, that means that the ROI is there.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah. What are your tips if you're going to a networking event to stand out? Because a lot of people are a little nervous. Maybe they're like just out of college and they're just getting into networking and they don't really know what they're doing. What would you recommend? And it doesn't have to be any big tips, like little small things even could work. One thing that I heard that I thought was really good was I heard a girl say that whenever she goes to a networking event, she gets her nails done really fun, so that when she shakes hands, people notice her nails and they're like, oh, your nails are cool. And that's kind of like an icebreaker conversation starter. So what kind of tips do you have like that to stand out at a networking event?
I love that, and I'm going to take that. Normally, I'm actually going to get my nails done this weekend because of that tip. So thank you to your person who brought that up. That's fantastic. Typically what I like to do, and I'm going to go from the perspective of, let's say, a student, and then a perspective of somebody who is wanting to up their networking game. So from the perspective of a student, go and get there a little early, and meet with the coordinator, the person who is setting up, and get to know that person. That they are going to be a nice icebreaker into introducing you to other people, and they will be more than happy to help you if it's your first networking opportunity ever. And if you're brand new to the organization or you're just checking it out, and if you say you're a student, everybody's going to want to help you. They're always going to want to help you. So just let them help you. That's the first tip from a student perspective. From a professional perspective, colors. Bright colors. I'm not saying neon green, but let me tell you that definitely stands out.
Yeah.
But I typically wear red for all of my speaking engagements, like completely head to toe red, like in a nice dress that you can get from Amazon for like $60. And I got like a fun belt. And I walk around, and everyone knows where I'm at. Hey, did you hear that speaker? Oh, yeah, she's a lady in red. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Or a really bright, like I'll do a bright red lip, or I'll wear glasses. I'll have something to do with my branding, so that way people do recognize me when I'm at an event. So that way I can make better introductions, because of this, I see your stupid face everywhere. I'm like, that's So that's what I typically do. But colors are fantastic. And the way that you enter a room should be big. This is especially for women, should be big. I'm not saying going in and peacocking it. What I'm saying is walk in with confidence that you're going to go somewhere. If you are going to go and you're still a little nervous, which is okay, even I get nervous sometimes, 1,000% if I know nobody, I'll go up to the coffee station, I'll go up to the food station, I'll go up to a place where people are congregating, and I'll crack a joke about coffee, because that's my number one thing, or I'll crack a joke about food, or I'll say, hey, nice to meet you. What brings you here today? Just asking people what brings you here opens the door for a great conversation. So those will be my tips.
Yeah, I love what you said about going to the event and getting in touch with the person that runs the organization. That's something that when I first started Wiki Design and I was going to a lot of different networking events, I would try to do, because a lot of times I feel like these people need help. And if you can say, hey, like I'm new and I'm willing to help you out with something, like do a presentation or maybe just help organize an event, they usually say, yeah, I would love some help. So it's a great way to get to know the person and get to know the organization. So I love that tip. And I love the colors. Ashley, if you've ever seen any of her pictures online, she always has red lipstick on, and she does a red lip really well. So I'm kind of jealous because I feel like I can't pull it off. But you do, yeah, I think that's a great tip because it does make you more recognizable.
Yeah, no, and the red lip, can I tell you where it came from? So let me give you a tip about this tip, and for all of my people out there. You all think I have it under control. I'm a hot mess that time. I look like I've got it together. The reason why I'm saying that is because everybody starts somewhere as far as how they want their brand to be, right? So my glasses are blue light glasses. I do not have a prescription. The glasses are part of the branding because for me at the time, the glasses were, hey, This was a place for me to feel comfortable behind the glasses where I could turn it on because the confidence wasn't at the place that I wanted to get to it. I'm wearing glasses now because I've been working on my computer all day, but I do not need them to actually function as a human being. However, these are turtle shells, so they actually are a vibe, so I typically wear them for most outfits just because they're cute.
I think they're cute.
Thank you. Amazon's the best. I think we should get sponsored at this point. But the benefit to having a brand and like that red lip came from a Harvard Business Review article I saw years ago when I was a waitress. And they said that people who wore and waitresses who wore red lips when they worked got tipped 15% more.
Really?
Yes. And so I decided, like, that's interesting. I always like a red lip because it feels very like old-fashioned timey, but like it was a identifier because it was bolder than what everybody else was doing. And I learned, so we'll talk about like red lipstick. I had to learn how to do it. Like I had to get the liner. I had to do tutorials. It was a whole process. But if you do it well, it works out. So that became my brand name because it was fun and everybody recognized me in that space when I earned that right. So yeah, that would be my tip. But yeah, be bold, be confident, and always ask for volunteer opportunities. So perfect example.
So there's a lot of networking that happens online as well as offline. How do you approach these things? Do you approach online networking differently than offline, or is it kind of the same approach?
Personally, my tone online is the same offline. So I prefer to network online because I can do more quality checks rather than waiting a day after I meet them to like book a call. It becomes a very easy way of following up and it's very, kind of in your face. So networking online is very consistent. So as long as you're putting out a consistent brand with posting and education and things like that, people will be more than happy to comment, like, and follow everything that you're doing. The goal from there is how do you follow up? How do you connect with them? They're opting in to talk with you. Open the door for a 15-minute conversation. Say, hey, thanks so much. Thank you so much for your comment. I'd actually really love to get to know you better. I'd like to get to know my network better. Would you be open for a 15-minute intro call and hopefully I can help you with something? And that opens the door for every single thing that you do. So more and more educational things that you post on LinkedIn is going to be helpful to open up those doors for meetings and interviews and things like that. The other bit too is that consistency is key. So having some kind of social media plan where you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a theme of some sort. The fastest way to do this is figure out your 5 core values, and every single day is a different theme or value. So let's say it's knowledge is one, service is the other, curiosity is the other. Make every day a theme so that way your posts are consistent, but it's also you don't run out of ideas. And ChatGPT is great for that too.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about that lately.
So posts, I typically use that particular tool not to write my articles, but to go into, let's say, grab a transcript from a video, and then I can create like bullet points of things that I've said or quotes that I've matching up, whatever. So the goal is that consistency is key, and when you network online, you're doing it by, the activity that you already have.
One of the things that I love about following you is when you post funny bad networking tips. And if you're not following Ashley, definitely want to follow her because she posts a lot of great stuff. So a couple weeks ago, you posted something that I thought was so great, and it was a bad networking tip. I'm going to put it up on the screen so everybody can see it, but basically what you said was, when meeting someone new, make sure you brag about how busy you are because it shows that you're in demand. Now, this is something that I've experienced not only at networking events, but just in like my personal life. People just love to talk about how busy they are and kind of glorify this busyness. Why do you think that is? I'm just curious what your thoughts are because I have my own thoughts.
I think people feel like they're more important than they are, and I think that there's a human component that people forget sometimes, and that people who are very successful do not balk at anything. So, like, of course, if I feel like that there is an importance, or I can give you my time because there's a need, I'd be happy to. And you can tell those people from a mile away. If they are so busy and they say, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, and they do not have time for you, then why are they at this event?
Right.
They're so busy, why are you there? Or what's your goal for being here? It's a opportunity. They're missing on the opportunity to have the privilege of networking. So when we network, how lucky are we to be able to do this, number one, right? How lucky are we to be able to do this? But the people that I find that are the most atrocious to be around are the ones that are telling you how many LinkedIn connections they have, how many views they got on whatever, how much money they've made in whatever, because their insecurity is just showing off.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is a full, I don't care how successful you are, I have no interest in working with somebody who likes to brag.
Right. I totally agree. And I think to add to that, I think in a way our culture kind of glorifies busy and hustle, and it's very much about like the hustle culture, and like you got to get out there and talk about like how I can show you how to make $10,000 a day and all this crap that really is just that crap. So I think that people think that they need to almost say like I'm so busy, or I'm, because I'm making so much money and I'm doing all these different things, and it's like, take a step back and just have a conversation and be a real person, and I'll figure that out once I get to know you. You don't have to just come right out of the gate with that.
Totally, and all that shows is that you suck at time management. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. You're not very good at time management if you're so busy that you can't even take the time to take a 5-minute shower, which I've heard online before. People posting how they're so busy that they didn't have time to shower that day. It's like, that's a problem.
All this money, hire a virtual assistant, be able to sell it
Right.
and make it work for you. No, that there are weeks where I'm just like, I'm so sorry. This week I've got prior commitments, and I would love to actually have some time to sit down with you and not be distracted, because I think you're important. Like, I think this conversation is important to me. Like, right before we jumped on the call, I had a lovely, wonderful conversation with a girl who's coming out of school, and she was introduced to me by my top client. Marty McDonald, actually. He was the one that saw me at that event, and he found me, and he was my first client in WORDPRESS history. So if this man tells me to jump, I'll always ask how high. So he provides me with referrals. She puts on my calendar. I sit down with her. I'm like, I would love to help you with whatever. Here's all the resources I have. In fact, I'm going to have her reach out to you. I was going to ask you about that later, but she is just a phenomenal, and you can tell the difference between how she approaches conversations with somebody she doesn't know versus how some of my students do. So she's like, I'd love to ask you some questions. Oh, I would love to answer some questions. Like, that extra customization, as good as we are at what we do, people will lack the empathy or the direction to say, I want to look at what you're doing, and I actually have an intention behind why I'm reaching out to you. Like,
Right.
that's way better than anything else.
This kind of segues into my next question. Sometimes you go to events, or even online, this can happen too, where we meet somebody and we kind of immediately realize that we don't have anything in common. We don't really want to talk to this person. What are your tips for getting out of a bad conversation?
I have 11 graceful ways to end the conversation that work 100% of the time. That is an entire slide that people keep asking me. They're like, how do I get rid of all? All is just up my butt right now. And I get it. I totally get it. Here's the thing. There are 3 things you can do. First thing is to always recognize that person may not be able to understand social flats, right? So you know what I'm talking about. To understand how somebody feels uncomfortable in your presence, or the conversation is dying down. That happens more often than not, and sometimes you want to shift a little bit. So what I typically do is I will say, it was such a pleasure meeting you. I'm going to make the rounds, but I'd love to see you before you go. And keep it moving. Or
Yeah.
do you know anybody here that you think, now that we got a chance to know each other, do you know anybody here that you think I should meet? And have them make an introduction, so you're still, everybody wants to teach you something or wants to be of service or help in some way. They do. They inherently do that. It's human behavior. Give them the opportunity to. Or to the other effect, to say, it was so great chatting with you. I'd love to connect on LinkedIn. Can we put something on the calendar? It depends on the level. Because a lot of the times, like, I'll be chatting with you at an event, and then 45 minutes go by, and we're chatting, and it's like, oh shit, I need to be able to go in and chat with I got 4 other people I'd love to chat with. And it's less of I don't want to chat with you, it's more of you and I can talk all day. You gotta do stuff, I gotta do stuff. We'll come back. and you joke about that opportunity. So it just depends on the level of comfortability that you have. But I'm always very much like, it was such a pleasure meeting you. I'm going to go take a lap, and I would love to see you before you go, and keep it moving.
I think that's great advice. um, so, what advice would you give somebody that is introverted? Maybe they're not comfortable talking to people, getting in front of people. What tips do you have for somebody like that who's not very comfortable at networking events?
Introverts, you got to understand something with introverts. They are better networkers than extroverts, and I'll tell you why. Introverts are very intentional about the words that they use, the places that they go, and the people that they keep in their lives. So when you have an opportunity to sit down with one-on-one with an introvert, they will give you all of the attention in the world because there's no other distractions, there's no facade they have to put on. So you don't have to go to every networking event, but your networking strategy on LinkedIn should be amplified by 3 times. So you can still network online by providing good content, by reaching out to different people for informational interviews, by opening the door for a conversation, to do something like through Zoom. You do not have to go to a networking event. The goal is that if you are connecting people, make sure you build up networking equity by making introductions, not referrals, but introductions to other people to keep your name in their mouths. The goal is to build engagement by building the know, the like, and the trust factor. And if you can do that online, then that is a networking activity. So you don't have to go to big events if you don't want to. If it's an activity that you're like, oh, I want to do, axe throwing or those rage rooms, like let me get out, let me enjoy this experience, then all you're doing is going and just enhancing the relationship by being in person with the people you've already built relationships with. So think about the pandemic. My network grew exponentially because Zoom was the only option. So the influx and the logistics of meeting and connecting with the right people, it increased because I didn't have to get up and get dressed to go to whatever. I didn't have to go 45 minutes to an event that I met 3 people at that I already know. Like, I'm able to meet one-on-one with intention and having those 20 to 35-minute conversations. I don't go to networking events as much as I used to because I saw the value in being able to do this on a consistent basis. But at conferences, I'll go to. I'll do conferences for myself, day conferences, summit conferences, because I know what I'm getting myself into in like a big influx, and that'll keep me occupied for the next 2 or 3 weeks with follow-ups and opportunities to speak. So every networking activity for you, for any introvert out there, is completely subjective to you, but you have to do something. Otherwise, you're just going to be running and spinning your wheels and having a panic attack in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, a good thing, start a YouTube channel like we did. That's what we did during the pandemic, and now, that when you mentioned that how your network grew a lot during the time when you couldn't go to events, the same thing happened to us because we started a YouTube channel and now we have over 12,000 subscribers. So a huge community of people that will hopefully take these tips and run with them, because I think you have a lot of good stuff here. So last question that I want to ask you is something that we like to ask everybody. What are some tools that you use and recommend that we could maybe benefit from?
So I have a list of 365 tools that I will send to you, that it's all free, that I took from another influencer, don't tell them. And I just rebranded it and I just give that out because it's so powerful. So the tools I use every day are phone sites, and I can give you the link to it in the chat as well. The phone sites is the way that I can see the ROI at networking event, because it's a digital business card and I'm always giving out my ebook, or I'm giving out some kind of like this whole list, right? So I'm providing them with value before they even have a opportunity to jump on a call with me. But I can see how many people clicked on the link, how many people's information I gathered, and it allows me to say, okay, this event I was able to meet new people or reconnect with old ones. Phone sites is the one that I use for every event. I also use Calendly. Obviously, Calendly is the number one thing that I use to keep track of everything. And then I use HubSpot to keep track of all of my connections, but then also all of my sales funnel. I could be at that, but those are the 3 that I typically use the most.
Yeah, those are great. I never heard of the phone sites one, but I'll check that out. Give me the link to it so I can take a look at it, because that sounds really interesting.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thank you again for coming on, talking about networking. I think you gave a lot of really great information. And for anybody that is, just starting a business or just maybe out of college and needs to get out there and start networking, take Ashley's tips and run with them, and start following her on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. She's everywhere, and she gives lots of great tips, lots of good information. Definitely give her a follow. Just tell us one more time what your website is and where we can find you.
AshleyAssist.com, and it's at AshleyAssist on every single platform.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this a like if you haven't already. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.